Welcome everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Number 3, agenda approval. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 4, public comment. Do we have any more requests on your sheet? Okay, we do have some over here. What I would like to say as we get started, I can see on the list we have a few folks here to talk about masking with our upcoming school season. I'd like to ask, if I can, if you do find that somebody's speaking and they are talking about the same topic that you are, maybe just limited if we can, to 1 or 2 folks. Dr. Hub will be discussing the use of masks towards the end of this session. So I just would like to add that in. Typically we ask that you limit to about 5 minutes apiece if you can. I appreciate it. The first person, I believe, and help me because I'm looking at a signature, Sharon Marshall. Okay, if you'd like to come up and have a seat at our table with the microphone in front.
I just got here first.
Well, that works. You're welcome to have a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
Well, I'm concerned about masking the kids because I think it does a lot of harm to them psychologically, first of all, and I believe that there's been a lot of frontline doctors that have said that they did not need to be used, and that in fact that they can cause problems when they're solving. And then most of the masks that people are wearing say that they are not even, they don't even work for the COVID virus.
Okay.
Right now, I was thinking, I've signed my name on that paper just in case I wanted to say something. And I only got here first because I thought I was late.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you sharing your opinion with us. Thank you so much. Rachel?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wasn't going to touch that. She came up on Rachel, so I was going to touch that last name.
I know, I was checking, it's fine.
Thank you.
I'm not used to my name being pronounced correctly, so it's just fine.
Well, thank you.
Okay, I tightened mine up, but I'm gonna, I am both a mother of Scott County School students, 2 of them, and I'm also a teacher. So this will be my 15th year teaching at Garth Elementary. I teach kindergarten, and so I wanted to share from both of those point of views. Dr. Hub, I know that you responded to my sister's email, the redhead over there, saying that you wanted to make the decision that was best for our kids' safety, and I appreciate that, respect that. So I think we need to take that topic of safety and examine what exactly is safe as far as masking goes with mandating masks. When, as a teacher, before we implement anything in Scott County Schools, we always have to look at what is best practice, and we always determine what is best practice based off of research, which has to be done over time. You have to see exactly what is effective and if it's worth putting into practice. So the first question would be, are the masks safe? Are they proving that they're safe? We know that pre-COVID, there was tons of research out there that it all said the same thing. Masks do not block a virus, doesn't matter what the virus is. So they are not used to keep people from transmitting the virus because they are not effective for that. The CDC, Dr. Fauci, the World Health Organization, all of the same people that we keep listening to, they told us, and very emphatically, we should not be wearing them. Now, they eventually changed their tune, but that's not because the science changed. It's not because the virus got bigger and could thus be blocked. It's not because the masks changed, but they just, they changed. But not because of anything scientifically. Scientifically speaking, the virus is 1,000 times smaller than the holes in those masks, right? It goes right through the pores of the mask. And that has been proven time and time again. The only argument that is used against that, they say, oh, but it blocks the spittle, right? I mean, it's not gonna, if you cough, it might catch a little bit of it in your mask. As Dr. Fauci even said in his own words, it might block one large, droplet, but it's actually not blocking the virus. And that's the thing, is while it might block one or two of those spittles, the virus still gets through. If I cough in that mask, maybe a little bit is caught of phlegm in my mask, but then the virus just went straight through it. It would be the equivalent to saying, like, that doorway over there, saying, well, that blocks the transmission of people. Because if a really, really, really extra large person, say a 700-pound person, try to get in, it would block it. They wouldn't be able to come in. So it blocks people. It helps block the transmission of people. But as you can see, a lot of us people got through that door, right? So it's kind of similar to something like that. Masks, of course, were used originally only in the operating room. For the most part, it was never to keep people from getting sick, just to keep contaminating an open wound, and so to speak. But the way that it was used properly as PPE, they had lots of conditions. You had to be in a sterile environment. The way that it had to be a very proper fit, right? You have to, only when you put it on, you have to be very careful about it. Don't touch it again. And then after 30 minutes, you can discard it. You must discard it, right? You have to get a new one. And as we know, in a public mask mandate, especially in a school mask mandate, none of those conditions are met. We're not in a sterile environment, and I don't know if you've ever seen a 5-year-old wear a mask. It's not the same, right? They're going to touch it a lot and things like that. I wish I would have saved some of the masks that were left over in my kindergarten room at the end of the year. They were disgusting. I mean, there was snot, there was food. A lot of times they would leave their masks in the bathroom. So you can just imagine all the kinds of stuff that was getting onto these masks. So to say that the masks are going to be worn to keep students safe is kind of baseless in those ways. Like, we're not using them in the right ways to keep anybody safe. Masking the asymptomatic, which is the whole reason why we masked everybody, was you never know, you might be sick. That's been proven time and time again that there isn't a threat from asymptomatic spread. It isn't there. Fauci has said that in his own words himself. Not that I can use the word that sometimes enough, but it doesn't matter because that's who we're listening to right now. In fact, the chance that an asymptomatic kid will infect another kid and it will result in that kid being seriously harmed, like hospitalization from COVID, it is 1 in 42 million. Now, that is thousands of times lower than their risk from getting seriously harmed on a school bus. So if the reasoning for wearing masks is, well, we want to do the best we can to keep these kids safe, then it would only make sense if Scott County Schools then also discontinued our busing, because kids have a much higher risk of getting seriously hurt on one of our buses coming in the morning and leaving in the afternoon. The dangers and negatives of masks, I know I probably need a little bit faster, but let me skip all of that. Like I said, the masks are worn not in any of the proper ways. They're not the right material. They're not the kinds of things that are going to actually block the virus. Florida, they did a study. Some parents sent off some masks that their kids had worn in school to a lab to see what was on them. Half of the masks were contaminated with 1 or more strains of pneumonia-causing bacteria. 1/3 were contaminated with 1 or more strains of meningitis-causing bacteria. 1/3 were contaminated with dangerous antibiotic-resistant bacterial pathogens. In addition, less dangerous pathogens were identified, including pathogens that can cause fever, ulcers, strep throat, periodontal disease, and other kinds of things like that. And just to touch on the last part, as a teacher, trying to teach kindergartners, teaching them their letter sounds and teaching them the basic beginning blocks of learning how to read is really, really difficult when they can't see my mouth and I can't see their mouth. It's really hard to hear them at all. They have a lot of shy little children, and it can be almost impossible to hear these kids and for them to be heard in the classroom, which is a shame. It also becomes very tricky to teach social, emotional skills. I think of preschoolers and I think of my kindergartners. For them not to be able to see your facial expressions, for them not to be able to see their teacher smile at them or their friends smile at them, it takes a toll on their psyche, and it does take a toll on their social, emotional well-being. So other states have paved the way. We've seen that it can work, where you can go to school and you don't need masks. Florida, there have been schools in Florida Texas and other places, South Dakota, where they did not mask in school, and everybody fared just fine. And I know that we paved the way last year, and I was really appreciative in the fall when we came to school for those nearly 6 weeks when other counties didn't do it, right? And we kind of paved the way to say, you can do it, and it can be safe, and we were safe. And I think that we can do the same thing now. We can say, we can let there be choice there, let the children and the parents who want to mask, let them do it, but we can show that it can be safe, and what the science shows, let's do that. I say we pave the way. That's all I got.
Michelle Morgan?
You can move that microphone if it makes you. I've seen people,
Better?
Rachel was kind of leaning to try to get out. But
I type mine up too. My name is Michelle Morgan. I've been here before, but I think this is a topic worth revisiting, so I'm going to start from the beginning. I have 2 school-age children. One is at Eastern Elementary and one's at Royal Spring Middle School. My daughter Amelia attends Eastern Elementary. She has dyslexia. She's now receiving IEP services as a child with specific learning disability, and the teachers and staff at Eastern have been wonderful. We were able to work together to get very appropriate, specially designed instruction for her, although it was a very long and difficult road. Since beginning intervention, she's made wonderful progress, and that's the good news. The bad news is that she was missed as a child who would benefit from early intervention under RTI services in kindergarten and 1st grade, because she should have started receiving reading support much earlier, and so should many other children in the district. Currently, Scott County uses MAP scores to determine which children need extra help with reading, and this is a big problem for 2 reasons. In 1st grade, MAP scores are read to the child. This means it's really only an assessment of their listening comprehension, not their phonetic decoding skills. And by definition, listening comprehension is intact for children with dyslexia, so it's not an appropriate screener for them. In 1st grade, my daughter Amelia was in the 70th percentile for her MAP scores, but when she had to actually read the text, she fell to the 6th and then the 1st. The state education agency dyslexia legislation says that screening for dyslexia is required, but we have not adopted this law in Scott County. MAP testing is not an appropriate screener for dyslexia, as I already mentioned, but all K through 2 students should be screened for phonological and phonemic awareness deficits, which is the primary area of impairment for children with dyslexia. So I believe we should adopt that law into our school system. Furthermore, teachers need more education on dyslexia and the school's involvement in this disability. Because you see, not only am I a parent of a child with dyslexia, but this has also become an area of professional interest for me. I talk to parents from all over the county who are frustrated because they're asking the school for help and they're being given incorrect information. I remember expressing concern regarding Amelia's reading when she was in 1st grade, and I was told she's fine. Her MAP scores are fine. But in 2nd grade, when her MAP scores plummeted because she couldn't phonetically decode, and read the words on the page, I was told, well, it's a vocabulary issue, it's an attention issue. I was told everything except what the problem actually was. She couldn't read. By the time Amelia qualified for IEP services, the school psychologist in our meeting said it's heartbreaking. Amelia is a completely different student when any print is involved. And this is the point that we did agree on. It was heartbreaking to watch her struggle with reading and writing, wondering why I had to work so hard as a parent to get appropriate services in place. It's also heartbreaking that I've heard this story from so many other parents in the district as they tell their own journey of getting their child help with reading in Scott County. Children with dyslexia need structured literacy to learn to read. Unfortunately, most schools in our county are only using whole language or balanced literacy to reading instruction for tiers 1 through 3. And this method of reading does not align with the most current research within the science of reading community. Additionally, not only is whole language and balanced literacy not beneficial for children with dyslexia, but it's been shown to be detrimental to their learning process. I'm still working to undo the poor reading strategies my daughter was taught during her Tier 1 instruction using balanced literacy. Transitioning to a structured literacy curriculum would benefit all children, not just those with dyslexia. I know that some changes are being made and some schools are beginning to recognize this, but we still need to do so much more. Please don't misunderstand, I love teachers, and I love the teachers that Amelia has had. They're some of the most caring and selfless individuals I've ever met, and I'm blessed that her teachers have always been open to learning more about dyslexia and how to meet her needs. It's not the teachers that are failing students with dyslexia, it's the system. Teachers need administrative support to know what the laws actually say regarding dyslexia in the school system. They need to know the early signs of dyslexia and what to look for in their students. They need to know how to provide correct information to parents who are worried about their child's reading. They need time and materials to perform dyslexia screenings in kindergarten through second grade classrooms, and they need support from administration. I'm willing to bet that almost every school in the county has a goal to improve reading scores. And this is how we need to do it. We need to adopt the laws that are already in place. We need to find the children that need support early. You need to provide solid research-based RTI services early before they're failing in school. And you need to wholeheartedly support your teachers in serving the 1 in 5 children in their classrooms who need extra support learning to read because they have dyslexia. Reading and writing are essential skills needed to access all curriculum areas. This isn't something that we need to put on the back burner. It's something that needs attention now because our children want to read. They just need to be taught in a way that helps them learn.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Lydia Moore.
Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
I'll make mine brief. I really appreciate everyone on this board and the superintendent. I know you guys have the weight of the world on your shoulders with regard to making the best choices for our kids. And so I really want you to know that I appreciate that you're in a tough position and you just want to make the right choices. From my perspective, I feel like for too long in this crisis, our kids have borne the brunt of the sacrifices being made. They've sacrificed their education, they've sacrificed Little League, graduations, field trips, proms, school plays, vacations, visiting family, attending church, playing with friends, and breathing without being encumbered by a mask. And what have we done this for? Who are we really protecting? Because we know that kids get COVID just like everybody else does, but they bounce right back. It's not a big deal. So it's not about necessarily protecting the kids from COVID. It's about the adults being worried about it, and necessarily so in some instances. But it's not the job of children to take care of the adults around them. It's the job of parents and elderly people to protect themselves in the way they see fit. That could be wearing a mask, that could be not going to certain events or places where they might be exposed, that could be getting the vaccine. That's up to you. Let the kids be kids. Let them breathe. Let's no longer... I feel like this has almost been a nightmare, but every time we get a goalpost, okay, if we get to here, then you all can start living your life again. And if we get this many people vaccinated, you can start living your life again. It's not fair to do this to the kids. They're fine no matter what, and we need to let them be kids. I have a list on the back here so far that I've counted up of 24 either counties or independent school districts that have already said we're giving parents and kids an option this fall. And I would encourage you all, you had a chance to right some of the wrongs that have been done to these kids. You have a chance to be the hero and say, guess what? This is no longer your problem. We're going to take care of this. You just be kids, and you don't worry about anything else that's an adult responsibility. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Linda Wiggins.
I don't have anything to say. No,
No? Okay. Peggy? Petty?
they pretty well covered
Yeah.
everything.
Okay, all right.
Do you want me to go instead of waiting till the end? You want me to
Yes.
come on? Okay.
So what we'll do, just here real quick, we have consent agenda items that are next, but I think is what we'll do at this time. I know that most folks don't want to sit through all the agenda items that we have. So Dr. Hub was going to speak about this during his superintendent meeting. So if it's okay with the rest of the board, we'll go ahead and let Dr. Hub have a few words right now to address the mask issue.
Well, thanks everybody for coming out. You know, all of these board members have heard that this kind of discourse is what we need, right, to be an effective school district. You know, I tell people, any parents that have come to me with an issue, I say, thanks for letting me know. I can't There's no way that I can know every problem that exists in every school. I think as a community, you know, a superintendent, board team, faculty, staff, students, I think we successfully, and I appreciate, you know, there were some things that we did in Scott County to pave the way. I think we got through the pandemic last year successfully. That doesn't mean it was good. That doesn't mean it was a great experience for kids or it was a great experience for adults. But I think we did an awful lot of good things that were better than what some other districts were doing. And the key to all of that was good communication. About 10 days ago or so, the requests from parents, the requests from students and staff, the requests from the media started to ramp up about reopening. And so that was kind of a clue to me that, okay, it's time now to let people know that we are thinking about it. I don't want you to know that the board's not asking me, that I'm not talking with the board about, hey, the reopening of school is right around the corner, right? It's 4 weeks from yesterday as our first student day of attendance. And as I am kind of want to do, I made sure that everybody knows that there are some possibilities that I don't like, but they do exist as a possibility. None of us know. 4 weeks ago, we had no idea the data in Kentucky is going to look today like it does now. We've had hundreds of kids in summer school, nary a mask to be found, and everything is fine. And it is not, well, there's hardly any kids in those schools, so masks must make a difference when hundreds of kids come back to Garth. Well, numbers is not the issue, because the numbers of kids in individual classrooms in summer school replicate the numbers of kids that are going to be there first, so it's not a numbers issue. I often cause many of my own problems. And I thought it's important for the community to know that it's possible that masks might be required for some students. I've also said it's possible that we're not able to start school on time. Now, I've been here for more than 5 years. I'm not a chicken little, the sky's falling guy. I just want everybody to know that there may be some mandates that are going to prevent us from doing what we wanted to do. That happened to us 12 months ago. I know this board wanted us to go back to school in August, and we ended up not being able to go back until after fall break. But we did have a pretty good run until Thanksgiving when we were shut down again. This team did not want us to shut down then. We opened as quick as we could in January, and again, I think we had a pretty successful run until the end of the year. The most recent data that I've seen, there were 61 of Kentucky's 120 counties that had positivity rates higher than Scott County. That's great news, right? If that were to happen in early August, we wouldn't be worried at all about wearing masks. I've had multiple conversations with Dr. Miller from Whitco. She is meeting with her 3 superintendents, myself, and also Del Buchanan from Nicholas County and Dr. Harry Burchett from Harrison County. We are meeting, Mr. Parker is on vacation with his family, but Dwayne Ellison is going to be with me in that meeting, and we're going to talk about what's coming up. What Dr. Miller has heard from me is that if I want to make the decision today, I would not want to have anybody wearing masks. Now, just as that statement doesn't equal the truth, nor does the fact that I'm preparing everybody that we might have to wear masks. What I'll say in conclusion, and certainly I'll entertain any questions from the board if you think I need to clarify anything, and then I don't mind if we have a few minutes, if, you know, whatever. The way to prevent wearing a mask because you're not going to be in danger of transmitting or catching COVID is to be fully vaccinated. And the problem is that we don't yet now, and aren't going to for the foreseeable future, have that as an option for our elementary school age children. Our staff is, you know, I mean, I know that vaccination is a personal issue. Some have philosophical and religious beliefs about that, and it's not my job nor any of ours to advocate that as a mandate for staff, and we won't. You know, we can't mandate it. But what we can do is say, if you for sure want to make sure that you're not going to be captured in the quarantine, if you're fully vaccinated, that's going to be the health department rules, and we can do that. There is just no way to make a decision right now. Here's the communication timeline that I think you can expect. The district got everybody kind of in a pattern, got the community in a pattern that we would do Thursdays kind of the week before. I expect that on August 5th, we'll be able to put some broad strokes about where we are then. I expect that August 12th, we'll be able to have some final statements. You're like, well, August 12th, my gosh, we've got open houses, school starts next week. I know, but what I wouldn't want to do is to make that announcement tonight and then have to circle back. The last thing I'll say is that, during the pandemic, I'm not sure that we really ever had to do a reversal. We took a lot of time and effort, we asked a lot of people, a lot of questions, got a lot of feedback from the board, and when we decided this is what we were going to do, we were going to do it. I tell all my superintendent pals that we were one of the first to mandate masks. If you'll remember, last May I said in Scott County, we are not going to social distance and we are not doing a hybrid because that's not best for school. But we're going to have to wear masks all the time. Before other districts were saying that. This community, I believe, respected us as a team and said, well, if they think that's best, if the science behind wearing masks is going to make a difference, we're going to do that. I hope that the community is going to continue to support us again. I know what you want. I think we want that too. And that's all I have to say about that. Thoughts or questions?
Do I have any comments from the board? Would anybody like to add anything or ask Dr. Hub any questions at this time?
If you could clarify, maybe for those listening, when you said teachers who aren't vaccinated are caught in quarantine, what do you mean by that?
So,
Because that would probably apply to students as well.
yes. So we believe at this point, contact tracing is going to exist in schools for this school year like it did for last year. We currently have in place somebody who's responsible for student contact tracing and somebody who's responsible for staff contact tracing. Let's just say I'm a second grade teacher, a school nurse will call me, or maybe the principal will let me know, hey, we found out that a student in one of your classes has tested positive for COVID. Based on the proximity, based on the time you spent not wearing masks, you probably need to be quarantined. Oh, well, actually, I've been vaccinated. Okay, good, you don't have to worry about being in quarantine, off you go. The health department hasn't decided the specific quarantine rules. All indications are that they're going to be the same. They were 10 days out. The difference is that has been explained to me is that now maybe instead of waiting the whole 10 days, if you're asymptomatic after 3, you can probably go back. But again, I wouldn't take any of that I've said about the details to the bank because all that's subject to change too. But what I do know now is that if you've been fully vaccinated, if you come into contact with somebody with COVID, you're not going to be required to be in quarantine, which would mean if you're quarantined as a staff member, you're not able to come to work. And nothing exists right now for staff other than they have to take their own sick days. There's nothing from the Department of Education, there's nothing from the General Assembly that says there's any of those days available. So, if that helps.
And just to clarify, our status now is, with regard to summer school activities, is it's a masking by choice. Masks are not required for summer school, which I'm stating the obvious. But so, just for I guess I'm clarifying for those that are thinking about upcoming back-to-school activities that may be planned and going on that may come in advance of maybe the 12th. The assumption it should be that we're staying with the mask by choice until or if an announcement comes otherwise.
Right, because we have, for example, and I've shared this with principals, we've got open houses, old school open houses. Hundreds of families and kids, nobody wearing masks, everybody seeing everybody smile, shaking hands, oh my gosh, teacher, giving hugs, doing all the stuff that we want to happen in schools. Right now, that's the plan. We plan to have Mr. Parker celebrate in front of 2,000 staff members his selection as the superintendent-elect in a staff get-together opening day at the Great Crossing High School. Those are great big events that 12 months ago would have been considered super spreaders. I'm going to fight for those to be as they are. And if we can do those as they are, well, how can we possibly have 9 open houses at elementary school on Monday the 16th with no masks and me say you got to wear a mask on Wednesday? Right? I mean, I just want you all to know, I'm thinking about that kind of stuff. I just want everybody to know, we might have to wear masks. I don't see it happening, but we might. And again, right, that's common sense. I'm not, I'll tell you right now, I'm not unless the health department says, we're gonna shut you down if you can't. And then the board will tell me how much we're gonna fight on that. But, right, it doesn't make any sense that if we're able to do those things 2 days before school starts, high schools, I think, are maybe the 9th, I think they're the week before. And I've told the principals that my, I gave them 10 lists of questions to think about and to let me know if there are any other questions. And I said, just because I'm asking these questions does not mean they need to change any of the plans or the path that they're on now. Move straight forward, just like we are in summer school, that we're open in school with no masks for anybody, buses included.
I'd like to add to that if I can too, and DT, I don't know if you have any numbers for us, but as of July 15th, we were allowed to start our tryouts for our fall sports. So we've had kids actively in gyms, on fields, et cetera, correct?
Correct.
Out at all of our schools doing their thing. We've also had teachers who do in-service this summer. We have, as we said, almost 2,000 students that are in our buildings right now, along with staff and the children, that we've been doing this status quo with masks.
We've got 45 adults in the room, and I don't know if any of you have been vaccinated or not, right? We're not making you wear masks, right?
Can I ask a question?
I'm sure, so.
Last year you had cleaning and sanitizing in place, which I think did wonders, especially in the grade schools for the little ones and spreading. Is that something that you will keep up this year?
There are some things that we've said regardless, there are some things we've learned in the pandemic that we're going to continue to do. We're going to continue to sanitize just like we did before, which was at a higher level than we did.
Yes.
We've got our custodians used to that. We're able to get enough of this recovery money that the expense for the additional cleaning is not going to matter. We're going to continue to encourage washing of hands. Kids, and I think really the population in general, washes their hands more than we did 2 years ago. We're going to continue to get as much physical distance between each other as we can. Again, we never required social distancing in the classroom. But if there's an opportunity to spread out, why wouldn't we? You know, why tempt fate if we don't have to? We're going to continue to, we're not going to screen as far as everybody taking temperatures and everybody coming in and check, but we are going to be on a little more heightened alert than we used to be. And if students or staff indicate some of those COVID-like symptoms, we may isolate them, ask them some questions, and then do those individual screening. And again, we've learned that that just makes a difference. I think our flu numbers were less last year than typical because we were catching a lot of them because a lot of the symptoms were the same. And so those kids maybe were going home, maybe it was COVID or, you know, COVID-like, or maybe it was the flu, but there was less spread of that, less spread of strep and mono and flu bug. That happens all the time. So yes, we're going to continue a lot of those.
Can I ask a question?
We'll take one more question and then we'll have to, this isn't typical of our normal.
Because I will do this all night. I love to be a question and answer.
You made the statement that the vaccinated would not have to be quarantined. So you do know that some of the vaccinated are getting COVID.
More than the vaccinated are getting COVID.
The vaccinated are getting COVID. So that's just my comment. Okay.
Yeah, and that is, and again, I'm just going off the guidance that, you know, I hope that we could agree that for every issue that we take one side on with COVID, we really can find a similar amount of research on the other side. And I don't want to argue with anybody because I'm just taking the stance that, hey, I'm going to listen to some health experts. They are going to inform me just like the board informs me. My leadership team informs me. There's no single repository of data that dictates what we're going to do in Scott County Schools, right? I mean, I think you guys have seen that. And,
so you're saying that as of right now, it's going to be voluntary choice if we can go through with that and nobody stops us.
I'm saying right now, I don't want to pin us in. There's a lot of superintendents that I've respected for years that are making these decisions now. I hate to do you like I do to media sometimes, but I'm not going to answer your question, and I will tell you what I will say, in that I know everybody wants an answer, and I promise you as soon as I'm confident that I will give an answer that we won't have to reverse in 2 days, you'll get it. And I can't imagine I'm gonna get out on that limb any sooner than August 5th. But no changes until then, right? No news is good news maybe, but you'll get news one way or another. Sorry, that's the best I can do. I mean, we can say tonight, there's gonna be no masks. And then, everybody should comply. Yeah, and again, I really don't think that's gonna happen.
But it's important to note, that is our current position. I mean, right now, for students attending summer school, masks are voluntary. So that policy, for lack of a better word, is what is in place
Okay.
now. I mean, that's what we're.
And again,
What you're hoping for.
Well, I mean, that's what we're doing right now for summer school. Students are wearing a mask by choice during summer school.
And other events.
And other events, athletic events, every event, this event counts as that. So it's a choice. The concern is, and that statement we're gonna put out, is to be closer to the time the school starts. The hope is that will stay the same.
That's gonna be a game time decision.
And again, let's maybe finish on this. Here's what I think is happening. Lots of districts are making the declaration now. We haven't. And rightfully, you might be thinking, if they're not making the decision now, they may be thinking we're going to wear masks. Because I don't, and I haven't heard any of you say, well, you said this group is wearing masks. I've not landed anywhere. Again, and I appreciate the way you've really said it concisely. Is our current policy is no masks for anybody. Of course, it's optional. We're not going to prevent anybody from wearing masks. And until the data says so, we won't need to make a change. Fair, right? You
Fair.
Nod, shake. Okay.
Okay. All right, so any folks, if you'd like to go ahead and leave our meeting, we're going to move on with our other agenda items. You are more than welcome to stay and listen. We welcome you to do so, but I do want to say thank you for coming in. We value your opinions. We look for opinions. We get emails. We try to answer them. If one of us, if it's a group email, typically one will answer. If not, a couple will chime in. But I do want everybody to know we welcome input. So thank you very much for attending, and we do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We want to make sure.
Okay. We have quite a few consent agenda items. I know everybody is taking a look at them. It's that time of year to approve fundraisers and events and et cetera. So I will say I'd like to approve consent agenda items 5 through 5M. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 6, student achievement report. Miosha, I hear you have a special treat for us tonight.
I'm very excited to address the board for the first time officially by myself. Thank you. I want to take the time, first of all, to just introduce who our new members of our student learning team are. And so I want to introduce Maria Bennett, our Chief Information Officer, and also Harper Rowlett, who is our Assistant Director of Special Education. So we are really excited to have them as additions to our team. Tonight, I gave you guys a packet, and on the first page, I just wanted to bring back to your attention, there's been some really great news lately about what is going on in Scott County schools, especially on what we're doing with our summer learning. And so we have had the unique opportunity to have not only our students in summer learning, but also our teachers. And so we are really excited that every single certified staff member has gone through professional learning this year as it relates to our recovery work. And so I just wanted to bring that article back to your attention on the front. And I've also provided you with the recovery work materials that our staff has received for Recovery 1 and Recovery 2. And so here at the Office of Student Learning, our motto this year is about learning with passion, serving with greatness, and leading with excellence. And so I have the immense pleasure of having with me tonight a special guest who is really an embodiment of our learning with passion part of our motto. And so it is my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Nate Reeves from Royal Spring Middle School, and he is going to be talking to you about his experience this summer and also a special guest that he was able to encounter.
I just wanted to say thank you everyone for having me, and thank you Ms. Williams for introducing me. But to start this out, I wanted to give a little saying that people say. It's a war saying when people go to battle. When they have a plan, it tends not to work out once the battle starts. So what I'm hoping for is that that's not the case today. But getting back a little bit back on track, I got the immense pleasure of meeting the Lieutenant Governor and other people in the community, such as Chairman Elridge, Amy McGrath, and Mayor Prather. Each of these people shared wisdom that was just amazing, and they gave an amazing effort to show us what it was like to be a government leader. And every single one of them impressed me. The Lieutenant Governor gave us an inspiring speech on how we as teens can get involved in government and how we can be effective, an effective voice in our community. The enrichment camp as a whole was very well done, but the Future Government Leaders Enrichment Camp was something that I personally loved and I will cherish for the rest of my time at Royal Springs and probably for the rest of my life. So I just wanted to say thank you for your time, and you guys have the great rest of your day.
So that was just a snippet of the experience that he had at Royal Spring through their enrichment programs this summer, and so I am just so thankful that you were willing to come and share with us.
Anytime. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for me or for Nate?
So, are you considering a career in politics now?
I always enjoy politics. It's always been a fun experience for me. I like learning about different things. So yeah, I'd definitely consider that if the opportunity arose.
We have the composure and the way that you speak and hold yourself to certainly pull that off.
Oh, thank you.
Especially the way you just answered that question. Not answer. Do you want to go into politics? I enjoy politics. That's awesome.
What's your favorite subject, Nate?
I like them all, but
there you go. Come on, man.
But specifically this year, Miss Beckett's in social studies. I felt she did an amazing job in this, and I loved learning about the history that comes with that. I've always loved mythological adventures and old times, learning about that kind of stuff. Just as Miss Beckett has a sign in, those who don't learn about history are bound to repeat it, and you usually don't want that to happen. But yeah, I like social studies a lot.
At West Point, we had a really neat saying, and it was a poster in the walls, and what they would say is, the history we teach was made by the people that we taught. As you know, multiple West Point grads are presidents and generals and boards, and we'll talk about that, so I thought as a history buff, you might enjoy that. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I have one other question, not for Nate, but, so Rowlett, right?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Harper, so that's not a very common name. Do you know Jerica Rowlett?
No, I do not.
We have a Jerica Rowlett who teaches at Georgetown College, so it's just there's a connection.
Thank you guys so much. Yes.
Neosha, just real quick, we're getting ready to start school. How are things coming with your recovery program?
It's going really, really well. We have one more round of Recovery 2 that will happen the first week of August. And we have received a lot of positive feedback, especially on, you know, everybody being in the paradigm and being really excited about, we can do this work. And it's more about just the intentionality of our focus and moving forward to ensure our kids are staying on grade level and having access to those grade level materials.
Another question for you, if you don't mind. You know, at the end of spring last year, just because we knew we were heading into our recovery program, we did offer weekends or after-school programs for the kids to come in and get some more recovery work. Are we offering that this fall as well? Is that part of our efforts?
Absolutely. So that would be encompassed in like our ESS. And so that can take many forms. And so we anticipate that we're going to be able to offer all of those different forms again in the fall.
Good. It seemed they were very successful.
Yes.
Yeah, we've allocated significant funds to each of those schools for that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, good. We're very excited. Thank you so much for everybody's work on that
Thank you. And thank you to Ms. Beckett and Nate's family, and thank you, Nate.
And you all have the same permission.
I just want to know.
Nate, thank you very much, Nate.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you in the future. Number 7, revised BG1 project application, reference number 18362, new Scott County High School.
Move. Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 8, approve change order for installation of new basketball goals at Great Crossing High School.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, approval to surplus portable basketball goals at Great Crossing High School.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Approval to create head custodian position at Scott County Preschool.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
So, and I'm just reading here, I don't think it doesn't change the motion. I just want to make sure. I'm noticing here that what it's saying here, and I didn't catch it, it will be the addition of a net 8-hour position, and that's what I shared with you all in the Friday thing.
Oh, yeah.
So if you,
That's how I
but
understand
this says this would not be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So if you will correct that, Corinda, I didn't catch that. It is a net new 8 hours, and I'm sorry, so I just didn't catch it. I knew I'd share it with you, but.
Well, that was me.
And Corinda, Corinda, you'll put that on our board agenda, so that way, okay.
yeah, I'll take some.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Just to clarify, I appreciate that. Number 11, revise the 2021-2022 salary schedule.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 12, ratify approval for early kindergarten entry.
Move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 13, approve the pool facility agreement between Georgetown Scott County Parks and Recreation Department and Scott County Board of Education.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 14, approve renewal agreement between Scott County Board of Education and Cherry Blossom Golf Course.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 15, approve orientation and mobility agreement between Scott County Board of Education and Kelly Stewart.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 16, approve or ratify agreements with colleges and universities.
I have a question. We had dual credit, we had teachers who were certified, qualified, whatever the term of degrees, and dual credit at both Scott County High School and Great Crossing High School. Yes or no?
I thought we were wanting for
Well,
And or ECS, I'm just trying to determine
So-
where
so-
were dual credit courses offered?
well, So here's what I'll say, because we've got so many people leaving all the time. Yes, we've always had staff members who are eligible for dual credit teaching. But what also happens is it's entirely possible that XY University says that you meet the requirements. Once you've met the requirements, you've always met the requirements, but that doesn't mean that they may decide, well, we no longer want you to be dual credit because Saks has given us a hard time and we want a full-time to do that. For example, off the top of my head, I know that a dual credit certified teacher at Great Crossing is no longer at Great Crossing, and I know that one of the requirements Joy has as a look for is somebody that can be dual credit certified, but I don't know the status of that. I don't mind for, hey Miosha, well actually Deborah's here, so if Deborah, you'll do it. If you can get with John and Elizabeth and Joy and get a current status of the teachers who are eligible to teach dual credit, and then maybe which dual credit may be offered next year, right? Because you may see that Susan Duncan is eligible but not teaching it next year.
For whatever reason. Yeah, I just had a couple of parent community comments about not being able to take dual credit courses at one school versus another, and I can't answer that intelligently. I can't speak to it. I know we offer it. I know the numbers look really good, but I'm not able to parse out.
But it could be the law of large numbers. Sometimes we have more. Exactly.
I just want to be able to speak about it and understand.
Can you clarify what it means to be certified as a dual credit teacher?
So what you at least need is a master's that has to include 18 hours in that subject area. So, like I think you got your master's like in instructional leadership or one of them. Well, that wouldn't make you eligible for dual credit. I got a master's in geography education. I had 18 hours in geography, so I could teach master's level geography. Yeah.
Right.
Not everybody that has a master's is
Exactly.
eligible for dual credit.
That's why I wanted you to
You don't have to have a master's. No, I don't think, I don't think you have to have a master's, you only have to have 18 hours at the graduate level. Is that right?
Oh,
Or is
so
it
you don't
changed?
have to-
Sorry.
You don't have to have a master's in the
Correct.
subject,
Right,
just
you just
18
have to
hours.
have, now I could be wrong. And maybe it's changed, right?
It changes frequently.
So, I don't know, maybe.
Well,
Deborah-
I was going to say, here's a very true statement. When I helped universities with Saks, that's what you had to have.
Right.
You're in the middle of Saks, and
Right.
it is entirely possible that the rules have changed.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
even though that rule, 5 universities may have 5 different rules because some of them, there's the whole academic issue of high school teachers, are they, and again, get ready to fight me, are not, aren't teaching at the high academic rigor level that, Plus, dual credit typically is a lower tuition fee, so that's a business side issue with universities.
Rigor at one institution is differently defined.
Rigor and finances are the 2 issues. And then some universities are like, we're going to take our chance that their perceived absence of rigor and the lack of finance is going to result in more students who matriculate at XYZ University as our class.
Well, and this isn't any against any of our teachers that teach dual credit, and let me say that right up front. The level of rigor is from here to here. And when they get to college, right, when these kids get to Georgetown College, we would tend to rather have an AP student who we know has got the content and understands how to write a paper for English, for example, than somebody who's gotten this and, in Scott County Schools, they got this in 8th grade, right?
No, I don't understand.
Yeah, that's part of it too.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted numbers, so I can have a working.
Deborah, are you clear?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, thanks.
Before we go any further, when I read this number 16 here, approve and ratify with colleges and universities, however, here on this sheet, it also says, as listed on agenda A through D, as submitted. Which one am I supposed to be?
It's 16 A through D.
A through D. I didn't state that, so I'd like to restate it if that's okay, just to be clear for our notes. Yeah, just because. Number 16, approve, ratify agreements with colleges and universities as listed on the agenda, A through D, as submitted.
Second.
All in favor? I was just waiting for the second, Kevin. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Number 17, approve Kentucky Immunization Registry, KYIR, contract 21 to 22.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Really good email, Brent, that you sent me today, and I forwarded it to the board. I think it was the best explanation that we had seen so far about what we're gonna do, so thanks. Sounds like maybe the rest of the state may be doing what we're trying to do too.
Number 18, approve changes to authorized signers on school activity accounts.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 19, financial statements. There you are, I didn't see you back there.
I'm hiding. Just got a quick summary. Our beginning cash balance, this is for May, was $20.3 million. We had receipts of $6.1 million, expenditures of $6.9 million, interfund transfers of $189,000, leaving our ending balance at $19.7 million. $12 million of that was invested, leaving our ending cash balance at $7.7 million. Any questions?
Thank you, Gina. Number 20, approve current bills.
Move. Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 21, approve resolution as presented. I would like to suggest that we table this until we get further information from Dr. Hub and from our board attorney.
I move to table for further information.
Okay. Number 22, superintendent's report.
Okay, so,
Second vote on the table.
I was told no. Dr. Hub, what's your thoughts? I was told by Josh I don't. Okay? Okay, thank you.
That happens.
We do, but go ahead. Number 22, superintendent's report.
okay, so, I'll start at the top. You specifically, Diana, are always asking me, well, tell me about Grow Your Own, tell me about Grow Your Own. Matt, if we can't see, as we start the next school year, the benefit of the impact of Grow Your Own, wow. Superintendents, assistant superintendents, district leaders, principals, lots of leadership changes, and, you know, although Patrick Keeney did scoot away to Fayette County for a little bit, you know, we've been able to bring him back to Southern. Lots of homegrown, internally grown leaders that we're bringing back, and, I'm sorry? Yes, yeah, I mean, yeah, we just keep on, yeah, and, right, I didn't mention it because there's a whole bunch of names, so, yeah. Go home, watch the news, and you'll see another name. Look what I've written down under structural leadership. Critical race theory. Here is what critical race theory is a 4-sentence or so response. Critical race theory is an academic theory that has been discussed at the higher education level for decades. It's like lots of other theories that have been discussed at the higher ed level for years. It is not in the Kentucky Core Academic Standards, and what's in the Kentucky Core Academic Standards is what we monitor and ensure that schools teach. The schools have in their curriculum and the teachers teach. As an assurance, we have reached out to our principals and our student learning team, as they've done as the recovery loss issues have gone on. We've looked at curriculum maps. We've talked with principals. Teaching critical race theory in Scott County is not happening, and there's no indication that it's going to happen. That doesn't mean we're not teaching our children to be culturally responsive. That doesn't mean we're not teaching them about social injustices. Those are not critical race theory. You know, I would imagine that that there are going to be parents that will be sharing with their principals and maybe with you guys as board members and with me as the superintendent that, hey, here's a question my son or daughter got, maybe on an open response question or a study guide, or here's what they talked about in class. That's fine, right? That's kind of what we do as the district kind of leadership body that we are. I'm confident that we're not going to be teaching critical race theory in Scott County. Cultural leadership, you know, I had a chance to talk about this with the mass thing, is we are really excited that we're planning now to do open houses in the, you know, the pre-pandemic way where everybody gets together. We are planning on the opening day event, and that's going to be the morning of Tuesday the 17th.
Correct.
And more details are going to come on that. It is going to be Great Crossing. If you'll remember, we missed that opportunity to open Great Crossing with that because we wanted to give the Great Crossing crew time to really get in and get ready. But now, I was with Joy and her team and Les today, and they are super excited to welcome everybody from the district. And it sounds like we're getting great partnership from our folks at Whitaker Bank as well. And Renee have been working that very well. Starting Monday the 26th, so I guess this coming Monday, we are starting with our staff as they transition their Section 125 or their employee benefits. The short story on that is these are employee dollars that they put in for their benefits. We worked with Houchins Insurance Group to do an exhaustive study, and we found that there were dozens of employees that are going to be able to save money while getting the exact same or better benefit. And these are our lowest paid employees. And if you're looking at a few $100s a year, a few $100s a year is real money for these families. And there was no additional cost for us. And we're confident, Heather Atkins especially, she's been kind of the chief in charge, if you will, of the benefits team that Billy's got. And you know, she's done an exhaustive review of everything that they offer. And she's confident that the transition of this to new employees is going to be fine. So we're pretty excited about that. As you know, we're required to get meaningful consultation from the community on our America's Recovery Plan expenditures. We had more than 122 probably as of Tuesday when somebody, I think maybe I was responding to your text or an email. So I don't know how many. Do you happen to know if we have?
It was 140-ish the last I checked, but I haven't checked in a couple
What
days.
Gina is doing is she's going to categorize those responses into chunks, and then we'll hear more about that. We've talked about the collaborative piece about reopening of schools, and under influential leadership, you know, I just can't tell you how many. Let's see, where was I? I was with some superintendents and spouses last night, and one of the spouses works in another district, and you know, she was saying that their plan is the Scott County Schools plan, and they really just kind of shared it with principals this week because they didn't really have anything. And that's nothing to say against that district. It's just to say that that's how good our plan is, and you know, we got way ahead of that. I mean, a lot of people are thinking about this summer recovery. I mean, February-ish, right? I'm looking at the OSL team back. We probably launched into this thing in February, you know, the 4 different, you know, pillars, if you will, the curriculum, instruction, assessment, student support services. So, you know, pretty excited about that. And there are just as many districts. Matter of fact, all of our CKEC co-op, we shared with them our budget plan so that they could match, you know, not dollar for dollar, but category for category, because, you know, as a superintendent board team and Jean and her team as well, we've done a pretty good job with our finances through this whole thing, and that is my superintendent's report.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Number 23, adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Have a good evening. Thank you, everybody, for attending.